Hi, I'm John. This is my show, An American Scheme, where I'm proving that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So, MattsFTR, who never does anything to try and help me with my story, he just is always so negative and stuff, right? Which is, it's like, look, I'm just talking about Michael Jackson, you know? I'm showing Michael Jackson's real life, like real events that have occurred in his life. I'm using real evidence, real statements, all actual things. It's not like I'm making stuff up. I'm using the stuff that if other people want to tell stories about Michael Jackson, well, this is the same stuff that they would use. I just look at it a different way, saying that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's mother. And then what I say is that when you look at it under that light, it's like, does it make more sense? Like what he's saying, does it actually make more sense, or is it gibberish and stuff, right? So I say no. I actually explain everything, because once you understand that Michael Jackson's real mother's Diana Ross, the whole story of what I tell and stuff, then you'll see that now all the things of what you see, everything comes clear, and you'll see that all of the things that are out there have always been there, but nobody could ever understand them because it's so obvious that Michael Jackson was raised in the Jackson family. So I mean, how do you overcome that, right? So nobody ever could overcome it. Michael Jackson went to his grave with The Secret and stuff, right? But now it's come out, it's true, I've looked at it, I'm reanalyzing everything, and you can see that the interpretation of Michael's words and his experiences are much more valid with my point that Diana Ross is Michael Jackson's actual mother. So this is the Glinda tapes. Now I've used the Glinda tapes in a few things because I had to debunk one of the things that he said in there, where he says that he was in love with Diana Ross. So I've had to do that in videos. I've made videos about the Glinda tapes and stuff, right? And then one of the pieces I like in the Glinda tapes is where Michael's talking about Joe Jackson, picking on him and stuff like that. And he says that Joe was calling him black and stuff. And then he says Joe tells Michael, that's not my nose. He tells Michael, that's not my nose on your, he tells him, you don't have my nose. He's telling him because he's not his kid and stuff, right? So that's one of the things that I like about the Glinda tape. So this is a piece MattsFTR sent me. And now it's you can't hear it. So this is probably one of the reasons why I never even used this, and I would have skipped through it and stuff, and because you can't even understand what they're saying and stuff here. So I'm just going to read it. I'm not even going to play it to you because you can't understand what they're saying whatsoever. But so the part that MattsFTR was telling me is he was saying, who hurt you the most? And it says Diana, right? So Matts was saying, look at this piece and you can use it for one of your videos and stuff, right? So look, I'm pretty much done making videos. It's causing me way too much mental stress, and the depression caused from the reaction of the Michael Jackson community to not be able to even investigate my story, to not even look about it, and then it comes to the point they don't even care, and then it goes even further, and not only do they not care, they're completely shutting me out. And they won't talk about me. They won't even talk about it. They turn their back. And it's you turn your back on me. You're turning your back on Michael Jackson. And you're sitting out there claiming to be a Michael Jackson fan. So this is a weird thing that I'm having to deal with, because now I understand the larger context of Michael Jackson's real life experience of having to be an entertainer, right? And he's the king of pop. And he's got all these millions of people claiming to be his fans. And they're all dancing. They're dressing up like him and dancing around doing the song Billie Jean. And people are Rolling Stones saying, oh, Billie Jean's one of the greatest songs ever. But then now I've interpreted the actual true meaning of the song Billie Jean, and the real understanding. So I understand now that Michael had to live his life understanding that these people were all recognizing his greatness, and they had no clue of what he was actually talking about, and then they had no care. They really didn't care what he was talking about. So it's he was living in a weird reality and stuff, and it's that's how you end up being the crazy drug addict, because people say, oh, he wasn't a drug addict. It's you don't know anything. Michael Jackson was one of the worst drug addicts of all time history. He was horrible. He was hooked on drugs. The only reason you could be hooked that badly on drugs because you're dealing with severe pain, right? Severe pain. And you don't get that kind of pain when you just have a relationship with a girl, and it doesn't matter if she dumps you or whatever. It doesn't matter how bad it goes. When you're in a relationship with a girl and whatever happens, it can go as bad as it can be, right? But then if you're a person like Michael Jackson, you have all these women desiring you, right? You just get into another relationship and you move past that. That's the way it goes. It's like you move past it, you get in another relationship and you start looking and you start thinking, oh, well, I'm glad that happened because now I'm in this relationship with you. And then you have a kid with her and then you love that kid and you say, well, I never would have had this kid if I would have been in a relationship with her. And what would have it turned out with her if I would have had a kid? Maybe that she would have used the kid about me. That would have caused me more pain. So you start looking at the a brighter side. You start looking at the positive from the negative and stuff. So that's what Michael Jackson would have done in his real life. It's like if whatever relationship, if Diana would have crushed his heart, he just would have moved into another relationship and had a kid and understood because he believed in God. He would have understood the bigger picture. And so that kind of pain, it wouldn't have haunted him. He wouldn't have had to carry that burden all through his life. But if Michael Jackson is abandoned as a child and Diana Ross then informs him at 10 years old that she's his real mother, and but he's got to remaining living with the Jacksons, and then he had to carry that burden up until the point where he's labeled as the Jacksons an American dream, and then he's making songs about it. He makes Billie Jean about his real experience, and everybody's calling it the greatest thing ever, and all the fans are worshiping him, but Michael Jackson knows that nobody actually understands. Nobody could understand it. So, like, that's the kind of burden that when you're carrying that kind of burden, that's what turns you into a drug addict and causes pains, because and that's how you have to use the drugs to kill the pain and stuff, right? So right here it says, the guy says, because this is Glenda's husband on this, it's the recording. That's another part where I'm usually in the Glinda tapes, I'm usually in the Glinda where he's talking with Glinda. But in this one, it was like the husband. You could barely hear him. You know, it's you couldn't hear anything. So, but it's got it written down here. So, like, I'll just say right here, it says, the husband asks Michael, who hurt you the most in your life? And Michael says, excuse me, because like I said, when you're listening to it, you can't even hear it. You can't even understand what he's saying. He says, excuse me? And the guy says, who hurt you the most? And Michael says, people that I admire. And now, think about like the reality thing about this. Michael, he would have known who Diana Ross is before she informs him, right? So when Michael goes to Motown with the Jacksons, and they do their first audition at Berry Gordy's house, you know, well, the first audition was in Motown, but then when they go to the live performance at the Berry Gordy's house, at the pool house and stuff, right? So they go do that, and everybody's there. Diana's there, and Smokey's there. They're all there and stuff, right? And so Diana's instantly coming over to Michael and telling him, "Oh, you're great," and she's admiring him, and so Michael, he's been in the music business now for a few years. He's been running around the music scene. So Michael, and he knows Motown, and he knows that Joe's constantly saying, we're going to go to Motown, we're going to Motown. And Michael's been running around in the music scene for a few years now. So he knows like all the Motown artists, and he knows who Diana Ross of the Supremes. They're super famous, and she's beautiful. He knows these people. So he admires them, right? People that I admire. So Michael goes to Motown, and they're all like, oh, you're so great and all this stuff, right? So imagine the real thing is Michael thinks he's a Jackson. He still thinks he was raised in the Jackson. He thinks those are his brothers, his sister, his mother, and his father. He thinks he's a Jackson. He doesn't know he was given away as a child. That's why like the drive in him as a kid too was so like, and he was so happy as a kid and energetic and loving. And that's why when he says about his childhood and stuff, it's like, no, there's a bigger picture because his actual childhood was actually pretty good. And the beatings, that's the thing you grow out of, because when you become an adult, you look back to Joe Jackson and you say, I understand what you did, and you had to do that. So if you had all these kids, you were dealing with a lot of difficulties, and you had to make sure. And at that point, then the beatings stop, and you start saying, okay, I understand. But the problem with Joe was that Joe had to keep control over Michael, because then Michael wasn't his kid. Michael was having this relationship with Diana Ross, that Joseph still had to give this strong arm. He had to strong arm Michael Jackson and keep this control over him. That's what caused like the pain to keep going on. It wasn't just the physical pain. It just keeps going on. It keeps going on. And that's why when Michael looks back on his childhood, he looks back upon it saying like he didn't have a childhood, because now he realizes that Joe was never loving him. Michael was never doing something with his family. Michael was being used by Joe. You know, that's how he looked, and he should have had a childhood raised with his real parents, which he never had. So he never had, that childhood never existed, being raised by Diane and Smokey, that never existed. So that's where like all these problems with his childhood happens. That's why he has the separation when he grows up, and he's got this Peter Pan complex where he's feeling like an abandoned child, and he's clinging on to like orphans. The Peter Pan is leader of the Lost Boys, who are all orphan children and stuff, right? And so Michael's now going to lead them and, you know, help guide them and stuff, right? And it was all bad. Everything went bad. He had a lot of pain. But all the pain is caused at the time when Diana informs him that she's his real mother. So here it says, who hurt you the most? So people that I admire. So like I said, Michael was totally admiring all of Motown and Diana and all of that stuff, right? And he was admiring, he had admiration even for his own family, for his parents and all that stuff, but it all went bad, all right? So then the guy says, oh, really? Well, who hurt you the most? And he says, Diana. Okay, now, so this is what Matt was pointing out to me, that he was saying that, because he was saying he knows that that's Diana Ross that he's talking about, right? So now I'm going to show you, is the problem is like when I go to make videos, it's like I have all this information, so I can't just point out this one little thing. Like, see, this is the kind of thing with like Matt. It's like, dude, Matt, look I'm not just going to point out that one little thing. I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff. And it's like, I can just keep going and keep going. I've got too much stuff to show you. But now I'm going to show you, because this shows you one thing. Look at the way he spoke about that Diana hurt him the most. So now, let's go right here. Okay, so Michael Jackson's will. If any of my children are minors, this is his will, and he's saying if his children are minors, he gives guardian to Catherine Jackson. See, Catherine Jackson as a guardian. But then it says Catherine Jackson fails to survive. So if Catherine passes away or is not alive at the time of Michael's dead, then it says right there, I nominate Diana Ross as guardian. Okay, so now just think about the story about how Michael Jackson talks about children. Okay, and then he just told you right there that Diana Ross hurt him the most. Okay, so is there any way that a person would speak about like another person, like the way Michael's speaking about Diana, okay? But then when Michael has children, he's going to give his children to Diana. He's going to give guardianship, to Diana Ross. See, this is the kind of things where I'm saying it's like, look at this, does not make sense. It doesn't make sense in the context of the friendship of Michael Jackson being a Jackson and then having a relationship with Diana Ross, but then something went bad, because people always say, oh, well, she married it's Evan Ross's father. I always forget his freaking name, you know, the mountain climber guy, you know, I always forget his name. But so, because people always say, oh, no, Michael was pissed off when she married him, and then that's why he made the Dirty Diana song. And it's like, and then they'll say that Michael was in a relationship with Diana Ross on The Wiz, that they lost their virginity, he lost his virginity, they were in love with each other, they were having an affair. And it's like, okay, well, let's look at that. Let's look at the actual facts. So if that had all occurred, if Michael had a relationship, a sexual relationship with Diana Ross, and she kept doing him wrong, doing him dirty and stuff, right? Marrying these other men, then when Michael Jackson has his own children, would he put his children at risk by having to go be with that woman who he knows you can't trust that woman, that she's going to do her own thing? He's been calling her Dirty Diana, and he says that she hurt him the most, but Michael's going to give his children to her? That does not make sense. But when you take it in the context that Diana is his real mother, now there's a connection that he can't get away from that. And there's nothing he can do. And he's going to admire her, and he's going to respect her forever and ever, because she is his real mother. And and he acknowledges it by putting her name right after Catherine Jackson. So now let's show you. Okay, so now, like the people always say, oh, that Michael and Diana were in a relationship. But now let's look at the real thing. How did Michael actually think? How did he think about Diana, and how does he refer to her?
The glamorous and talented and beautiful Diana Ross, who is my second mother. I thank you.
The glamorous, you know, and talented. See how he admires Diana Ross? Who is my second mother. Okay, you're not calling this chick that you were in love with having a sexual relationship, and if you're sexually attracted to her, you're not standing up there calling her my second mother. And then he puts her in the will to show that she's like a mother. There's a mother figure there. And then it's not just Michael doing it, because this is Michael and Diana at the Oscars, And listen how, when the guy asked the question to Diana, are you guys going to do another movie together? Diana doesn't refer to Michael as being this hot, young, sexy guy. And she wouldn't be calling him a son, because that makes her look older at this time if they're in a relationship, okay? When he's a little kid, okay, I can understand where people could say, oh, well, she's looking at him like a kid or whatever. I can understand that fits. It does fit, even though I show you more to the context of the conversation and I overcome that. But at this time, there's no reason for this to be occurring. She would not be putting this guy who's like, now he's a star. He's got off the wall. They've done the movie The Wiz. He's a star. There's no reason for her to be referring to him as oh, he's a little kid. It's little Michael. It's disrespectful. And it makes her look old. It doesn't make sense. But this is exactly the first words out of her mouth. And she's not saying, like, she says, my son. Just like how Michael said, she's my second mother. Not like a second mother. He said, she's my second mother. And now this is what she says.
Michael, Diana, one quick minute. Tonight is a night for film. What are your plans in film coming up?
We're going to do something soon. He's going to play my son.
We're going to do something soon. He's going to play my son. Like the actual words. Think about what the words she said. She says, my son. Not like the little, oh, he sees my, this is a different thing. Like, oh, he's my child, the baby, this is my son. My son. And think about how disrespectful that is to the Jackson family for Diana to be going to the Oscars and calling Michael her son. That's disrespectful to the Jacksons, who are part of the Motown family. There's this larger disrespect of what's occurring, which can't be occurring if the story, what everybody thinks is true. This does not fit that. But look at how perfectly it fits my actual story. That she's actually the mother. That's why they got this relationship, because she had abandoned him and they were never together those 10 years. And so she's trying to make up for all of that lost time. And she's trying to show him like she's over affectionate towards him, because she's trying to prove to him that, yeah, I do love you. I really do care for you. I didn't want to give you away. And she's flaunting it in public, saying, my son, because she's trying to like help Michael, let him know that she is acknowledging Michael as her real son. She is doing it. It's weird. It's weird in a way that does not fit the story of what everybody thinks. But once you just look at it through the understanding of what I'm saying, it changes. And now it doesn't just make sense, it clarifies everything. So now, let's go to... Okay, so now, this is at Michael Jackson's memorial, and now Smokey Robinson, who I say is Michael Jackson's real father, comes and reads. This is the very first thing that happened at the memorial, too. So he's reading the letter from Diana Ross, who did not show up. Okay, now, think about the reality. Diana Ross being Diana Ross, and her relationship with Michael, is it fair to think that she couldn't show up to this kid? The kid that she's, like Diana Ross presents at Jackson 5, she's there saying, this is my son. They did the movie The Wiz together. They've got albums together. They have all this history, but she doesn't show up? Like, think about the reality of how she had to show up. She needed to be there. But listen to the words in the letter, and it's being read by Smokey Robinson. It's Michael Jackson's actual father. Who's the person that would read that letter? Smokey. There he is. Reading the letter from Diana. Now listen to what she says, though.
I'm trying to find closure.
Like, just right out of this, I'm trying to find closure. Because how does she, and see, she's trying to find closure. Well, go to the memorial and honor him. That's the first thing that you would do. Like if you were just hurt because Michael Jackson died, the first thing you would do to find closure is that you would go to the memorial and you would help honor his memory. That's like the first most basic thing you would do. But as the mother, now she's got a problem. How does she go to the memorial being the real mother, and she's going to be worried about what she has to say in this experience, and she can't deal with it. It's just, because remember, she abandoned her kid. Now she's having to go to her child's funeral. This is her child. And she can't deal with it. And she's with the lie. She couldn't deal with it. So she's trying to find closure because she doesn't know how to deal with it.
I want you to know that even though I am not there at the Staples Center, I am there in my heart. I've decided to pause and be silent.
Pause. I've decided to pause and be silent. Why would that be such an issue for Diana Ross to go to Michael Jackson's memorial? Why would the issue of her having to be silent? If she came there and she was like, okay, let's be mad that Michael became a drug addict, whatever, things happen, that's not the issue that would like stop her from coming. That she's worried that she might say something like, oh, the people, your fans weren't nice to him, and that wouldn't be enough. And she could control that. But when she decided to pause and be silent, she's having a hard time being able to control the fact that she wants to scream out, Michael's my kid! That's my kid! This is my kid laying up here dead! And she doesn't know how to handle it. So she says, I've decided to pause and be silent. I'm going to remain silent. The only thing of what she can do, because she can't control her emotions here, she's going to remain silent.
This feels right for me. Michael was a personal love of mine, a treasured part of my world, part of the fabric of my life, in a way that I can't seem to find words to express.
Part of the fabric of my life, in a way that I can't find words to express. Because she can't tell the truth. She can't find the words to tell it. She can't do it. And she's confused. She doesn't know what to do. So at the end, she just is like, she's trying to figure out, how do I handle it? How do I deal with this? So she just said, I just got to pause. I got to be silent. And she didn't go. I can't go. That's the real thing of how if Diana's the mom, that's how she would be feeling. This is the words of the real mother. This is not the words of Diana Ross, the friend. And then this next part proves it.
Michael wanted me to be there for his children, and I will be there if they ever need me.
Because the will had come out, so before the memorial, the will had come out, so she was known that she was nominated as a guardian for his children. Okay, so then she says right there, Michael wanted me to be there for his children, and I will be if ever they need me. Okay, well, when could the children ever need you more than at that? And she's in the will as a potential guardian for the children. And she's a mother. She understands the importance of being a mother and caring for the children. And these are Michael's children. So at the first moment of where Michael's children need her, she doesn't show up. The kids needed her to be there at the memorial to give her support so she could say, I was a friend of your father. I loved your father. Michael was loved. He was cared for. And she's there. She's in the will. She needs to be there at the memorial, and she needs to be telling those kids that you've got the Jacksons are going to take care of you, but you've also got my family. I'm right here. I'm going to take care of you. She needs to be there for the kids. And like what she just said, Michael wanted me to be there for his children, and I will be if they ever need me. Well, right now, they needed you right there. And she didn't go. So it's like, that's what I'm saying. As a friend, look at the whole totality of this experience of what's going on. Does it make sense that Diana Ross, the friend of all of the experience of what Michael and them had, that she wouldn't go to the memorial? That she would just dog out Michael's kids instantly? Instantly. Let her all be there if you need me. Where are you, Diana? But what does explain all this stuff? That she's actually the mother, yeah. That's why she's in the will. That's why Michael's calling her the mother. That's why she's calling Michael her son. All of this stuff, everything of what I showed. This is Michael he was most hurt by Diana, people he really admired. But then through all of my stuff, it's like that's all certain stuff. That's all things and stuff, right? But where it really, really has the explanation, because this is Michael Jackson's, okay, so this is Billie Jean. So what I say to the fans is that they've got the song wrong, and it's just really simple to understand what the song actually is. So look at the last line right there. Okay, we're going to go. So it says, it starts off, she says, I am the one. Okay, she says, the line starts off, she says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Now, does it make perfect sense when you understand the context that Diana Ross tells Michael Jackson at 10 years old, when he's living in her house, the Jacksons move to LA and they move into Diana Ross's house, all of this stuff happened. That's what I'm saying. I'm not just making stuff up. Look at the actual facts of what actually occurred. And like he says in the song, where he says, this happens much too soon, she called me to her room. Michael's 10 years old at the time. He's living in Diana Ross's house, and Diana Ross is filming the movie Lady Sings the Blues, playing the character of Billie Holiday. It's like, there's way too much here for me to be making this stuff up and for it not to be true. It's clearly true. But so the line starts off, she says. Now, but the people have always turned the next line into making it seem like Michael says that line, but it's not. She says the whole line. And this is all you've got to understand to know that my story's true. It's just this line right here. She says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Okay, so everybody thinks Michael is saying, but the kid's not my son. They think the girl says that Michael's the father, and Michael then comes back and says, but that kid's not my son. You know, but he says something happened in the room. What happened in the room then? Something did happen in that room. She called me to her room. This happened much too soon. Well, what happened in the room? Something happened. What happened was Diana Ross takes Michael to her room, calls me to her room in her house. Michael, and it happens much too soon. Michael's only 10 years old. They go into the room, and Diana Ross informs him that she's his real mother. She tells him the truth. She says, I'm the one, the love child of Smokey Robinson and her, of Diana Ross. She's the one, she says, I'm the one. Michael's the one that, because of him being abandoned, that led to the Jacksons then being able to develop. There is no Jacksons without Michael being given to the Jackson. There is no Jackson 5, okay? That's the context of the one. Diana Ross, if she doesn't abandon that child, first of all, she doesn't get pregnant by Smokey, but then if she doesn't abandon him, then she doesn't have that direct connection to Smokey and to Berry Gordy. At that time, she's just a girl in the neighborhood, okay? But when she got pregnant by Smokey and then abandoned her child to help further the careers of Smokey and Berry, now Diana had a connection to them, and she used that. She strong-armed them. That's how it ends up at Motown as soon as she can be. She ends up as the lead singer, and she becomes the Supremes, the biggest woman band of all time. So Diana's saying, she says, I'm the one. She's telling Michael, you're the reason all of this stuff happened. You're the love child of me and Smokey, and because of you, all of these other things happen. Okay, that's the words. She says, I'm the one. This Diana Ross telling Michael Jackson the true story. Okay, but then the next line, she says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Okay, because Michael is officially a Jackson. That's how the lie becomes the truth, and the lie becomes the truth. That's the lie becomes the truth. Because she tells Michael, she says, I'm the one. Because that's what I'm trying to get you people to understand. Diana says this whole line, and it even starts off with she says. She says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. See, that's the duality of the situation, of the reality of what Michael had to deal with. Diana embraces Michael, and she rejects him at the same time. So now Michael, it's like he's lost. He's lost his place as being a member of the Jackson family. See, this did not help Michael. This caused pain and damage. This is why Michael Jackson, who died first out of all the Jacksons, out of Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, Berry Gordy, all of them, who's the first one dead? Michael. This because he had this pain and he had to try and heal this. He was like lost. That's why he ends up as the drug addict and ends up dead before all of the other ones. This is why he's dead, because of this moment right here, and it's this line that explains it. She says, I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Diana Ross tells him both things. You're the one. You're the reason all this stuff happened, but you're not my son. You're officially a Jackson now, and you're part of the Jackson 5, and they're part of a Motown act, and you've got to stay living with them. We've got to keep this a secret. The lies become the truth. You're a Jackson. Okay? So now, see how it says she says, okay? She says, I'm the one. So when you understand that the she says is her telling Michael Jackson that Michael Jackson's actually her son, I'm going to play this right here. Let's stop it because I don't want to take a chance of getting some copyright things. So let me just stop it for a second. So I'm just waiting for the next words to come up. I could have just... Let me just go and skip it to that because I don't want to take a chance of copyright stuff. So, okay, so then the next lines that come up, again, down at the bottom where it says, close to the bottom where it says, she says, I am the one. Okay, we're back at that. She says, I am the one. You know what you did. She says, he is my son, breaking my heart. She says, I am the one. See the understanding? This is the Billie Jean. Michael put it right there in the thing. And see how it's always she says. She says, I am the one, and she says, he is my son. That's what she told Michael. She told Michael, you're my son. Just like she did at the Oscars. He's going to play my son. She says, he's my son. That's what she says. She tells people, he's my son. Just like you'd say right there. She says, I'm the one. And he says, you know what you did. This is what I'm telling you, the pain of what this is. This is pain. This is Michael Jackson's pain. And that's what artists do. They draw from their real life experiences and their pain and their heartache, and they put it into their art. And that's how it becomes the great art of what it is. She says, I am the one. You know what you did. She says, he is my son. Breaking my heart. Why would it break Michael Jackson's heart for some groupie to say that he's the father of her child? Why would that break his heart? That doesn't, see, like I'm saying, that doesn't make sense. Why would that break his heart? That wouldn't break his heart, but this would. Diana Ross telling him, she says, I'm the one, but the kid's not my son. That's what broke his heart. Michael says, you know what you did. She said, he's my son. That's what she did. She told Michael, that you're my son. Breaking his heart. And Michael had to live with this whole life. Couldn't tell anybody. He put in his songs. Nobody could ever understand it. All these people out there copying his songs. All these people out there copying his dance and stuff. Dressing up like him. Nobody understood who he was. And he had to live like this all the time. Up until the point where he's so heartbroken and devastated that it caused him to not have any real relationships, and so he tries to find comfort in these children, and then he gets called a pedophile. And then he ends up drug addict and dead. This is who he is. This is real life. And it's like, okay, well, be a Michael Jackson fan. It's like, if you can overcome the work of what I just did, overcome it. No Michael Jackson fan can overcome this. If you think you're such a great Michael Jackson fan and you think that my work sucks, then debunk it. Debunk this. Because anything you put out there, I'll debunk it easily. It's simple for me to do because I got the truth on my side. So nobody can stand up to me, and then they don't acknowledge my work. They just act like I don't exist, and they keep belittling me, thinking that that's going to stop the truth. It's like the way you belittle me, that's the same way the media belittled Michael and calling him Wacko Jacko. Same fucking thing. And the people try and act like you're Michael Jackson fans. You're not Michael Jackson fans because you do the same thing to me as what the people did to him.